What music they make.
Metal. Global.
Sejam bem-vindos a mais um podcast de Metal Global. Hoje a conversa é com Bryan Beller, baixista dos The Aristocrats, eles que regressam a Portugal em maio de 2026, obviamente já no próximo mês de maio. Antes da conversa com Bryan Beller, não quero mais lembrar que tem a versão rádio exclusivo na RTP Play, a passar por lá e procurar por Metal Global. Agora vamos então falar dos The Aristocrats, o super-grupo que regressa a Portugal já em maio. Os concertos vão acontecer dia 14 de maio no Porto, no Art Club, e dia 15 de maio em Lisboa, na República da Música. Os bilhetes custam 30€ e estão à venda em bol.pt. Para falar da Duck World Tour, que é o nome do álbum, só Duck, não é World Tour, o álbum chama-se só Duck, mas para falar da Duck World Tour, a conversa é com o baixista Bryan Beller. Hello.
Hi there.
Hello Bryan, how are you?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you and I can see you okay. Everything good?
Okay. Yeah.
How is LA?
LA is beautiful this time of year.
And it's been busy days for you, or you've been able to relax?
Well, here, let me just close something for 1 second. Hang on a second. There. I have been working on, I've been, home and kind of in isolation because I've been writing a new solo album, which I just finished writing. I've been working on it for 6 months. So that's what I've been doing mostly over the last few months. It's been 8 years since I did that. So I think I was maybe a little bit overdue.
And 6 months, you happy with how it's going to turn out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm real deliberate about when I do solo stuff. I create the whole demo, drums, keyboards, bass, guitar. I try and play guitar on the demo. I'm not a great guitarist. And because I need to kind of see and hear the whole thing, and it takes me a long time, every time. It's one thing to write 3 songs for the Aristocrats. It's another thing to write a whole album on your own. And the Aristocrats kind of have some formatting things because it's just guitar, bass, drums. The arrangements tend to be a little simpler, although not always completely simple trio. But with my own stuff, I'm more expansive, so it takes a while longer. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with the way it turned out. It's I just finished it last night, and so now we're going to do the Aristocrats European tour, which I'm really looking forward to, and then come back and work on that some more for real.
Cool. And let's start with that European tour. It's going to be like a long tour, 2 months, something like that for you guys. You guys got 2 shows in Portugal, May 14th and May 15th, Porto and Lisbon. So what the duck can we expect from those shows?
Well, it's our Duck Tour show. And, it's funny. Europe is at the end of our touring cycle now. Just all our schedules got scrambled after the COVID lockdown. Europe didn't used to be last in the cycle, but this is now the 3rd time in a row that we've done the whole world, and Europe is at the end. And it's like kind of maybe saving the best for last, because Europe is one of our most favorite places. Obviously, Marco and Guthrie are from the UK and Europe, so they're on the continent. So there's a lot of our home bases there. Even though I'm an American. And we're looking forward to doing it. We're going to bring, I think it's a really strong show. There's a lot of stuff from the new album, but there's also some classics in there as well.
Cool. And, going to the Aristocrats, and you mentioned when you write for the band, you just have to write 3 songs. Everybody in the band writes 3 songs for each record. How do you guys came about to do that, even for everyone?
I mean, it started in the beginning just as the default way to do it. Like, we were making the first album, we're like, what do you want to do? Because after that jam at the NAMM show, we were like, I guess we're going to make an album. So we just decided to take 3 songs each and see what happened, and it turned out to be a successful formula. So we just kept, copying it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's the phrase we like to use. And
how did you you did that jam, and obviously there's chemistry there between the 3 of you. Was something that is it important to have that chemistry to be able to make an album and a tour mainly?
It's everything. I mean, and not only that, but what we think of it is only part of the picture. It's what the audience thinks of it. You know, when we played that one time, we thought it would be one time. We didn't have a big plan. We didn't have any plan. The show almost didn't even happen. That's a whole other story. So when we did it and the audience really, really reacted in a way, we've all done a lot of shows. We saw how the audience reacted. We were like, okay, you know, so we felt it. We only rehearsed once. You know, we played the 6 songs in that set once, exactly. We just went through song after song and we just kept being like, all right, I think that's working. Let's do the next one. And then we went and played the show. And, you know, I think that a lot of that just kind of speaks for itself. And I don't mean to be like, you know, arrogant or anything like that. It's just that that was the reinforcement we were getting from people who were feeling what we were feeling. But if we feel it by ourselves and the audience doesn't feel it, then it means nothing.
Yeah. And, you know, I've seen a couple of your shows. And besides the, you know, the virtuosity that you guys have musically, there is a lot of, you know, comedy and fun aspect to the live show. Is that important, you know, besides being able to play, to entertain the crowd as well in between songs?
I think it's important for us because we're the Aristocrats, and that's the kind of the reputation that we built for ourselves. You know, I wouldn't expect every instrumental fusion act to go up there and be like, hey, how you doing, everybody? I mean, like, that's just, not everybody is like that. But it turns out that both me and Marco and Guthrie had all done individual clinics before. So doing a clinic is there's a lot riding on you as an individual to kind of hold the audience's attention. Generally, you're playing to tracks, which is exciting for the people to watch you play, but it's not the same as watching a live concert. And you're also talking about gear and taking questions. And so it's kind of incumbent upon you to be entertaining.
Yeah.
So that you can deliver the message of what it is you're trying to say as an artist, and also for the company that's sponsoring you for the clinic. So I think that gave us, each of us, some practice in holding the stage in a way that's hopefully entertaining, even though we're playing instrumental music, just by the talking and the stuff between songs. And that just ended up translating when we started doing shows together. I think that's how it developed, because it's not like any of the gigs we had before as sidemen were involved us being on the microphone and kind of, you know, making the audience laugh or anything. Like, you know, Marco was playing with Adrian Ballou and Creator. They you know, they weren't making jokes in between songs. I was on stage with Steve Vai. I'm not making jokes in between songs. Guthrie been playing with Asia GPS. Now, you know, it wasn't, there was no history of that in our gigs, but there was a history of that probably in our clinics.
Yeah. But, you know, for me, you know, as a music fan, when I go to a live show, you know, I expect normally more than just the music. You know, obviously with the Aristocrats, I don't expect a show like Kiss with pyrotechnics and, you know, lights everywhere or anything. But it is important to give the fans more than just the music when you play live. I mean, if you want to listen to, you know, to a record, we listen to a record. But when we go see live, we expect a bit more. So are you guys aware of that, you know, aspect of the entertainment side, so to say, of music that some fans, you know, sometimes they don't like when you speak about music being entertainment?
I mean, you know, we're not precious about it. That's the bottom line. We're here to play a lot of notes and take the piss, have a little fun with it, which is, you know, that's the Frank Zappa ethos in a really, really quick two-phrase thing. You know, we're here to play a lot of notes and take the piss, not take it too seriously. There are bands out there that take it seriously, and that's totally fine. You know, does people go to Nine Inch Nails concerts to hear Trent Reznor tell jokes? No. You know, I'm guessing the Pineapple Thief is not exactly a comedy stand-up act, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, every act is different, and this is what we do. Yeah. So I'm not here to make grand comments about this, you know, anything other than us. You know, everybody's got their own thing, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. And going back to the Duck Records that was released in February 2024, you know, we mentioned those 3 songs. Is it easy to come up with ideas for, you know, for the Aristocrats? You guys know exactly what you want to tell instrumentally, musically to the fans. Is there any template let's say, I cannot find a better word, but is that normally...
Well, you're asking if there's a formula.
Yeah.
And I would just say that generally what's happened is we kind of, now that we're in our fourth or fifth album, we start realizing that when we're writing songs, we want to draw on them and tell a story somehow, and usually it's a story of something that happened to one of us. And so this thing happened and it made me think of this, and I decided to write a song that kind of felt like that, or I heard this kind of, it reminded me of this kind of genre of music. I wanted to see if I could write something that sounds like that. I mean, like Aristocrats Club is a 90s dance song, and This Is Not Scrotum obviously is a send up of Balkan fusion. Guthrie's song Here Come the Builders is supposed to sound like a big band, except it's a rock power trio. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thing. And then Marco's, the title track of the song, Sitting with Duck on a Bass, supposed to kind of be like an old R&B song, but of course it's not really. So these things all came from, stories. Sometimes the story's good, sometimes the story's dumb, But it's usually about stuff that happened to us. And the thing that's different about this album is that when we were getting together and doing the typical thing where we were each contributing our songs and talking about, well, here's the origin of this song, it was a conversation between Marco and I, because he had this song called Sitting with a Duck on a Bay. And then, this is a bit of a long story, but he brought in another short kind of coda to that called Duck's End. I suggested that we put that on the end of one of his other songs, which is called And Then They Were Just Us. And we don't usually get in each other's space about songwriting, but he went back and put it together in the studio and say, actually, yeah, that's a cool idea, but the way that the sequence was going to work out was that his Duck song was going to be near the beginning of the album, and then that other song was near the end. And we realized it was kind of like, oh, that's funny. It's like Sgt. Pepper's, here's the beginning and here's the end. And so we're making a concept album about a duck, ha, 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 ha. And then we were like, well, wait a minute now. What if we were going to do that? What if all these songs weren't about something that happened to us? What if it were about something that happened to this duck? And that started this freewheeling conversation while we were on the studio. Actually, while we were doing the behind-the-scenes interview for the special edition of the album, we were literally making up the story as we went along. And then Guthrie started jumping in, and we all kind of concocted this big thing in real time. And that ended up becoming like, we have a word in American English, I'm not sure it translates, called retcon. It's something where, like, if there's a television show or a movie where, something happens and then a subsequent, maybe a sequel will come out later and it changes the meaning of the thing that happened, in the original movie or the original television show. We we retconned that, that storyline. That's kind of what happened here. We, in retrospect, we made this about a story about a duck where all of these, terrible, weird things happen to him, where he's growing up on some island and, gets in a fight with a bunch of penguins and then has to leave because the police penguin is chasing him off the island. And it turns out that maybe there's this grand conspiracy that the penguins are like running this like fascist empire. Like this whole thing. And so you're asking if there's a formula. There's definitely not a formula for what happened on this album.
Yeah. That's great. And, obviously with 4 or 5 records now, when it comes to choose a set list, it becomes a bit more difficult. So how do you guys pick up songs for the set list? Everybody chooses 3, 4, and...
We kick it around, and once we come up with a set that we know works as a show, we tend to stick with it. I mean, we leave the improvising for, in the songs. We screw around with little bits in the songs and everything while making sure that we actually deliver the actual song, because we believe in melodies. We don't change the set every night, and because we believe in delivering a show that really works. And the only way to figure out whether a show works is to take it on tour. And so we all talk about the set list ahead of time, and then we start. In the beginning of the tour cycle is always a bit of an adventure, where we're like, okay, is this working? Maybe we want to change this song out. Maybe we want to put this over here. But eventually, we do settle on a set list for the tour that generally works, depending on what continent we're going to and how long the last time it's been since we've been there.
And, you were mentioning that, to see if sometimes songs work or not. When you're playing some of those, let's say, newer songs live, Did that ever happen that you realize that you could extend a bit and sounds better, or you normally like? I know you guys like to improvise, extend some bits on songs, but do you ever realize like one of the songs actually worked when you played live and extended or changed things a bit around? Did that ever happened?
We're a rock fusion band. We're probably not a jam band where I think that there's a whole culture of people who go to shows where they expect the act to change the song and go into unexpected directions, and suddenly a 5-minute song can become a 15-minute song because they just felt like doing this. Like if you're into like Fish is a great example of that. I'm not sure that Fish really translates into Europe, but in America they're a huge band, and everybody expects when you're going to go see a song, if they're going to play an hour 15-minute first of 2 sets, it might only be 4 songs. And you don't know what it's going to be or what they're going to do with them. There's adventures that, we don't really do that. I mean, we have our songs and we usually stick to the form. There are bits in the form where the improv is open and it can go on for longer and shorter and we cue the end of it, but I don't think it really happens in the way that you're describing where we've got this song where it's like 6 minutes long and we all just look at each other and we're like, let's play this for 10 more minutes. That doesn't really happen.
And, touring, we have a war at the moment or something happening. Anyway, obviously the oil price is going up. That means that gas is going up for touring buses. How does that affect, a band like you that's going to be on the road for a couple of months and you have a budget and now it's probably to increase a bit more because, of the hike in prices for gas? How do you guys try to balance things when it comes to this kind of situation? Because I know with talking with bands, it's getting more and more expensive for a band to be on the road.
Well, I don't think anybody really wants to look at our, spreadsheets as part of getting excited for the show. Touring is always a challenge. Music business is never easy. We're fortunate that we have people who want to come see our shows, and we hope as many people who can get to the show as possible will get to the show, because once you decide to do the tour, the expenses are the expenses. It is what it is. And it's always a risk. So we just got to go out there and play the best music and put on the best show that we can and just hope people will show up. Europe there's always something going on. I remember the first time I came to Europe was with Wayne Kramer, the guitarist from the MC5. Back in 1999, and the Balkans War broke out right before the tour started, and we were supposed to go to Serbia. Obviously, we didn't go. There's always a little something going on. Yeah, you just got to go out there and do it. And if for some reason you can't go somewhere, you can't go somewhere. The Aristocrats, we were fortunate enough to play, Moscow and St. Petersburg on the what tour right before lockdown. Like it was late February, early March 2020. When's the next time we can go back and play there? Who knows? So we're just glad we can get to places where we can get to, and if we can't get to somewhere because something's going on, that's just it is what it is. Yeah. And as a musician, does AI bothers you, or you think it's a tool that you actually can use to improve whatever? I don't know if I'm really here to comment on that kind of stuff. The world is a complicated place. I think ideally the purpose of art and music is to give people a respite from it. It's a place where emotions can be translated into something that's not language. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. I know when I listen to my favorite bands, if I'm feeling something, I feel down, or if I feel excited or I feel energetic, I have certain music that I reach for. And I don't need to sit down and make a statement or write it out, even though some people would do that. To experience the feeling that music will give me as a release from whatever that is that I'm feeling. And so I think that that's really what we're here for. And in a world that didn't have that, I think it would be a sadder place.
Yeah. And you've been playing with a lot of great musicians throughout the years. Did you ever got starstruck playing with any of the musicians you have?
I mean, in the beginning, yeah. In the beginning, when I was like, my late 20s and early 30s, doing stuff for Steve Vai was like, wow, oh my God, it's Steve Vai. Because I was at Berklee College of Music when Passion and Warfare came out, and I remember what the impact was. It was huge. But because I kept getting hired by the people that we all looked up to in instrumental music, rock fusion, just Steve Vai and Joe Satriani being two prime examples, but there were others. That just kind of stopped, and I always want to be able to relate to them as human beings, and that's what they want. I don't generally. I'm sure there's examples of the other thing where maybe an artist is not comfortable with having peer relationships with the band, and like they, foster some kind of distance or whatever. And I've been fortunate that the people I've worked with haven't been like that. It's been real down to earth, and they're just there to see their musical vision be carried through by people that they trust to do it.
Yeah.
That's what that's all about.
Yeah, and for you, Bryan, what led you to play bass? To be the instrument of your choosing. How did that came about for you?
It's not a very inspiring story, I have to say. I was a kid. I was 8 years old, and I started taking classical piano lessons because I was very interested in music, and I was a difficult kid. I had a short attention span. And then my parents said, well, okay, if you're gonna be in music, then you got to be in the school orchestra. And I didn't really want to be in the school orchestra. So as a form of 10-year-old protest, because I was 10 years old at the time, I chose the most obnoxious instrument in the orchestra. Surely they would not want to carry this thing around and drive me around town with a gigantic acoustic double bass in the back seat. But I was wrong. They did it. So I started playing acoustic bass in the orchestra, and I was, playing like Ina Klein and Oct music, and I was just like, this isn't what I want to do. I want to play Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. Why am I doing this? So a couple years later, I switched over to electric.
Cool. And, after the Aristocrats tour is over, what are plans? I mean, you mentioned already, finishing that solo record that you've been working on. But other than that, is there, more touring, more?
There is, but there's a couple projects that are in the works that I can't really talk about yet because they're just being formed. So I'm just going to have to say, watch the space on that and to be continued.
Cool. Right. Bryan, thank you very much for your time. All the best for the upcoming tour. I'll be in Lisbon to see you guys. It'll be a pleasure to see you guys play live again. I mean, it's always nice to see proper musicians play live.
Proper.
I mean, it's not a dig at anyone. I'm a fan of music. I grew up listening to Queen and, Deep Purple and stuff like that. And I appreciate, musicians that can play. It's, people like what they like. I like always the rock side of music. And seeing you guys play, it's a pleasure always to see you guys on stage. So looking forward to see you guys in May in Lisbon, and all the best for the rest of the tour and for the upcoming projects. We'll keep an eye on this space.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bryan, thank you very much.
Obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Metal Global foi conversa com Bryan Beller, baixista dos The Aristocrats. A banda regressa a Portugal já no próximo mês de maio, dia 14 de maio no Porto, no Art Club, e dia 15 em Lisboa, na República da Música. Eles vêm apresentar então um novo álbum, Duck. Já sabem que podem seguir este programa na RTP Play, a versão rádio está lá disponível e em exclusivo na RTP Play. Se tiverem dúvidas ou sugestões, podem enviar e-mail jorge.botas@rtp.pt. Visitem o site metalglobal.pt e sigam-me no Twitter e Instagram em @mountainking. Façam like na página de Facebook do Metal Global e, claro, tem a versão podcast, esta que estão a ouvir em Apple Podcasts, Spotify e YouTube Music, por isso subscrevam para não perderem nenhum episódio. Eu volto no próximo programa. Um forte abraço.
children of the night. He will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived. Good night. Good night.